Once upon a time there was a delusional knitter. She decided that she wanted to knit herself a pair of Christmas socks. So she bought yarn that everyone on the internet was raving about, and she used her regular needles for that yarn size to cast on the Royal Winter Sock by Tobi Beck. She knitted and knitted and knitted the entire shaft through because she did not gauge swatch. After knitting the entire shaft and the heel flap, she realised that the instructions were incorrect. She had accidentally used the wrong chart for the heel flap. So she decided this was the perfect time to block the sock to see how it would fit later on. Said and done, she washed the sock, she blocked it, that is to say she just hung it up to dry, and she tried it on only to find out that it was too tight. To celebrate this insight, she had a tiny crash out and then continued to cast on the sock again. This time on a larger needle size, because going from a 2.5mm needle to a 3mm needle should be fine, right? It should be fine, right? She knit a second shaft. She knit the chart repeat 3 times, just like the pattern said. She placed the sock on a cable, she washed the sock, hung it up to dry, and went to try it on. And it was still too tight. So this is me with two too tight shafts of the same sock. They look great. This is the first version. This is the second version. Could you tell that these are different gauges because they are different sizes? Absolutely not, because they look the exact same. So yeah, this is going to be a fail video. If you want to see me fail, keep watching. Okay, so I'm knitting the Royal Winter by Tobi Beck in these 2 shades of the Filcolana Arwetta. So this is 80% superwash merino wool and 20% nylon. It is 210 meters per 50 grams. It's quite a thin sock yarn and it's very, very soft. And I was looking at the different shades for this and trying to find the most Christmassy combination. So I didn't choose the starkest white, but sort of this off-white, and I didn't choose the wine red or more of an orangey one. I feel this is the most Christmassy combination when it comes to white and red. So this is how far I have come. Hang on. Socks always tangling. So I'm quite pleased with this. I'm not an experienced colourwork knitter at all. I did make a swatch a few weeks ago for a lemon pattern, but with a thicker sock yarn, and that ended up being also 72 stitches. So I tried it on a circular needle from Gu and my DPNs, both in a 2.5mm. But the Gus were just way too tight. I couldn't get it over my heel, and the double pointed needle set was tight enough or loose enough for me to get it over my heel. So that is what I've done for this. I was playing around with yarn with colour dominance, so I don't know how clearly you can see it. Because I read that the colour that you have on your left is going to be the most dominant one, and so I knit with the white on the left up until this point, and then I looked at it again and I saw that the floats are supposed to go over, so the dominant floats go over. I might have misunderstood all of this, but then I changed to letting the white floats go over, because I knit with the white yarn on my left side and the red on the right, but my white floats go under the red ones. So I thought, am I doing something wrong? So I tried to knit with the red floats going under instead, but that was very tricky. So what I did then was to switch up, so the red floats went under and the white went over, but that was a very unnatural movement for me, I thought. So I figured I would switch it up, because to make my white floats go over, I would have to have the white yarn on my right. So I changed that, and I didn't think that made a difference until now, looking back at it, and I can definitely see where the white was the dominant colour and the red is the dominant. I mean, when I stretch this out, hang on. Where is the most? There is a portion where it's quite obvious that I'm using the white stitches. Yeah, so in this portion, you can see that when I stretch it out, the white portion, the white stitches just disappear, and that tells me that I accidentally knit with the red as being the dominant colour. So I've now gone back to having the white yarn to my left and the red yarn to my right. And how I knit colour work, hang on, now I've tangled my yarns. Okay, so what I do is I hold my needles, or I hold my yarn like this. So my white colour on my index finger, so to the left, and the red yarn on my middle finger. So I do, where am I in the pattern? Okay, this is such a scrappy way of marking where I am. I put a paper clip and just the end of a chopstick paper to mark where I am, because I don't want to write on the pattern just yet, because I have another repeat and a half for this sock and then 3 repeats for the other socks. I don't want to scribble on it. So this is how we do it. So 2 red ones, a white one, and when I pick up my white one, you can see that the float goes underneath the red one. So another red one, I pick it up over, and then a white one. Okay, so again, if I knit now, if I want to knit a white stitch now, you see that my float is underneath the red one. Is that correct? Is that how it's supposed to be? Or am I missing something? Because it looks to be dominant when I do this, and that is the whole point. So is it which hand you hold the yarn in, or which side you hold the yarn in, or is it the way which float goes over which? Is that what decides colour dominance? Because I do not feel qualified in figuring it out. And obviously with this pattern, you have to be focused all the time. You can't watch something, you can't be distracted by notifications on your phone. I am watching some podcasts or video essays, I am listening to audiobooks, and I've made really good progress. I'm very happy with how far I've come. I did actually drop a stitch a few rows back, and I was able to figure it out. So I was looking at the chart and trying to pick up the right color of stitch, because the floats go behind either way. So I was trying to figure it out, and I think I managed. And this being such an intricate pattern, if there is one mistake, I would never find it, I think. I am at the new apartment and trying to figure out a bed frame, and it's super echoey in here because obviously we don't have any furniture yet except this wood frame. But I wanted to update you on my socks. I ran into a bit of a problem because the chart says, or the pattern says, to follow chart 2 for 5 rounds, which equals 20 rows. And since I can't think logically and critically for myself and can't count, I just followed it for 5 rounds. And then I went back to figure out the gusset, and I saw that in the picture it isn't chart 2, it's chart 3 for the heel. So now I'm torn. Do I rip back the entire heel and do it all over again? Or do I rip back the 5 rows that are too much? Because it's a 5-row repeat and I repeated it 5 times, so I have 25 rows. And if so, because that will mess up the entire... because I need it to be 20 rows, because otherwise it's going to mess up the entire logic of the decreases. So either I rip back 5 rows before I do the gusset, or I rip back the 25 rows and do the pattern as it's intended, not as it's written. But so far I'm quite enjoying the process of it. It is very picky. I have to focus, but at the same time it's quite meditative, which I enjoy. I am, however, not super happy with my floats, or not the floats themselves. They are, I mean, they work. I haven't seen too crazy bumping, and I have to be kind to myself. This is my second small needle colour work project ever, so of course it's not going to be perfectly straight like Charlotte Stone's socks that she's knitting as the pro she is. So I'll be kind to myself with the tension, but what I'm not super happy with is the dominance, because I think I still haven't figured it out. As I pulled on the sock, I saw that it's fairly uniform, but the white doesn't pop as I would expect a dominant colour to do. So I am fairly sure that I've knit with the red as my dominant colour. And now the question is, do I use this as a teaching opportunity, or as a learning opportunity rather, to figure out how the dominance works and flip how I wear the colours, how I hold the colours? Or do I just roll with it and have a red dominant pair of socks? Or do I switch so the foot has the white as the dominant? But I tried it on. It fits perfectly well over my foot. It's a bit snug over the widest part of my heel, but it fits very well over the leg portion, so I think I'll be fine. I might actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I might actually wash this sock to see if it shrinks, because if it does, I'll have to size up, because this is just on the verge of being too tight. If it shrinks even by 0.5 centimeter, I don't think it will be a comfortable fit anymore, and that, my friends, would be very, very sad. So, okay, game plan. Cast off what I'm doing right now. Or I can just use one of my cables, I suppose. Yes, I'll use my cable extender, holding live stitches thing. I'll pop it in the washing machine, as I do with all of my socks, on a cold cycle, and I'll see what that does to the gauge, and then I'll cast on for my next sock, holding the yarn the other way around to see what that changes, if anything. And I will go from there. And now I'm going to continue listening to my audiobook and trying to figure out this super janky bed frame that we ordered online, and I'm not 100% sure that it's the right dimension. Okay, second time around filming this outro, because apparently everything in this video is a fail. So, because I forgot to press record, or I thought that I pressed record, but then going back to it didn't record. And that was on me, as was this. I should have gauge swatched. I should have not sunk so much time into this project before I actually knew that it was going to work out. I mean, this is not a terrible sunk cost. It was a few evenings, but I was very excited about them, and knitting 2 shafts and knowing that none of them are going to be usable, that was quite disheartening. So now I could sort of try and make these into fingerless gloves, or I could try and make them into something else, and that still might happen. Honestly, should I just? I think I might just do that. That was actually a very good idea. Go me. Because it is a really pretty pattern. I really like the thickness of it. I would love for it to look like this on my leg, but on my leg it was just way too stretched out. And that is on me for not gauge swatching. It's on me for not choosing or finding the correct needle size for this yarn. But then again, I do not understand how people make the Arwetta yarn work with any needle size for colour work, because I think it's just too thin for a 72 round circumference to not show through the floats on backside. Anyway, I have learned things about my tension. I played around with color dominance. I played around with different ways of reading patterns and holding my needles and setting up my knitting to make it as enjoyable as possible. So I think that I have a good grasp on the pattern. I mean, I've knit it twice up until the foot or the heel. So I haven't given up, because it's a beautiful pattern. I want to have a pair of socks for Christmas next year, because I will not have time to do it this year. I want these socks for next year, but I'm not going to make it work with the Arwetta. So I do have a plan B, because I found this yarn in Norway over the summer. This is the Dalegarn Alpaca Forte. So this is an alpaca yarn which is fluffy and thick. It blooms beautifully. It has a beautiful natural variegation in the yarn, so it's a quite alive colorway. This is very one color. It is densely dyed and it's beautiful. So is this, in a different way. So I And this is a bit thicker as well, so it will actually help with my gauge problems a lot, probably. And this is also such a soft yarn, so just like the Arwetta yarn is a very pleasant experience to have the finished sock fabric, this is also very pleasant. So I want that for myself for next year, so I'm going to buy this yarn in a white and a red, a happy red, not a Scorsese red, and make myself the Royal Winter socks next year instead. So my only question now is, do I assume that I'm going to Norway once next year in January, or do I assume that I'm going back to Norway later in the year, because I absolutely loved Norway and my partner did as well, so we might actually go again in the summer or in the early autumn, because I don't want to buy yarn so far in advance, but at the same time it feels silly to buy yarn online or from a Swedish retailer if I can buy it in store in Norway, where it's been produced and where it's being sold. So haven't decided about that, but this video was mostly to show you that things don't always go to plan, and even if you have spent so much time on a project, you really have to consider the sunk cost fallacy in all of it, because I could have powered through and finished these socks, at least the bigger gauge sock, and they would have been fine, but they wouldn't have been good. I wouldn't have been happy with it. I would have felt frustrated with myself for wasting so much time to have an end result that I didn't really love. And it was just a good lesson for myself in patience and in grace, because honestly, as a human, I'm going to mess up sometimes. I'm going to be too eager, and I'm not going to be careful enough to figure out what I need to do properly for the outcome that I want all of the time. So this time I girl bossed a bit too close to the sun and I got burnt, and that is fine. So tomorrow's video is not going to be as faily as this one. This was a partial fail because I learned things, and I might even get a pair of fingerless mittens out of it if I can muster up the courage or the energy for it. But the original plan that I had to wear these, instead of an ugly Christmas sweater, I wanted a pair of over-the-top Christmas socks to wear when I see my friends on the 6th of December to eat traditional Swedish Christmas food. It's called julbord, Christmas table, basically where all of the Christmas food is served, and it's just so much food, and it's going to be a lovely time. But I had initially thought that I was going to show off a pair of silly Christmas socks that would at the same time look impressive and be beautiful, but also quite silly. That plan didn't come to fruition, so it was a partial fail, a partial meh, and onwards and upwards to other things. Speaking of other things, tomorrow's video is not going to be a fail. It's going to be a successful project because most of the videos that I've filmed for Vlogmas is actually quite successful, and I've had a lot of fun filming them. This video was also fun to film, but the outcome wasn't great. But I'm going to be brave about it. So if you want to see my other Vlogmas videos, click right here and that will take you to the playlist for this year's Vlogmas 2025. If you haven't subscribed yet, you can click right there and that will take you to the subscribe function. And if you like the video, click the like button, all of the things, leave me a comment, let me know what you're knitting on, and I hope to see you tomorrow for a non-faily project video. Thank you for watching. Bye.